Nintendo has been making waves with their NES Classic, and even now with SNES Classic. With talks about Nintendo filing for trademarks, it seems that the N64 Classic will be coming our way sooner or later. N64 was also a game-changing console for the gaming industry. It was the first console to feature 3D graphics and worlds. This console was a pioneer in what would become the start of some of the most played genres today, especially open worlds. The N64 was the system that a lot of us as kids owned, so I'm pretty sure it has a personal aspect of nostalgia on a lot of us. Which is probably how a lot of you could imagine that kids that started off with the NES or SNES probably felt, which is all the more reason why if the N64 Classic does come out, which it probably will, I'm definitely going to get one. But thinking about this actually got me thinking about games that could possibly be on this console. So here at StatBoost, we compiled a list of games, in no particular order, that we think might appear on the N64 Classic, as well as some games we would like to see, but probably won't make the final cut. So without wasting any further time, let's get right into it. Do a barrel roll! If they're going to release that previously unreleased Star Fox 2 on the Super Nintendo Classic, I don't see why they wouldn't include Star Fox 64 on the N64 Classic. The ability to use different vehicles and choose different routes to the end of the game made for cool alternative endings and choosing your own journey through the Lilat system. Glover. Glover was probably one of the weirdest games I've ever played. You're a glove that goes around completing the worlds and fighting your evil left-hand counterpart. This game was super fun though, and it was a game that never got to see a sequel, so it would be great to see it again. Yoshi's Story. I found this game to be a little easy, but it didn't stop me from putting in the effort to get a 100% completion. The art style is kiddish, yet captivating. I liked getting Shy Guy in this game too. Your girlfriend will probably like this game, so it wouldn't be a bad idea if it was included in the lineup. Super Mario 64. Here's an instant classic. From shell surfing to launching out of a cannon, Super Mario 64 is anything but boring. If you've somehow never played this game, you should definitely give it a shot. And if you have played the game, I'm sure you'll have fun revisiting all the old worlds. Paper Mario. This game was great because it brought RPG elements back to the Mario series, much like how we saw in Mario RPG. Paper Mario wasn't necessarily my style of RPG, but if it's on the N64 Classic, I'm definitely going to play it to completion. Pokemon Snap. The Pokemon craze has always been strong and only got stronger with this game. It was an awesome game to play where you could interact with Pokemon in a different way than the mainline titles. Throw an apple and see if a Pokemon comes out of the grass, or throw a Pester Ball and maybe see them do a cool move. Taking pictures has never been this fun. Mario Party 2. Now, Mario Parties 1, 2, and 3 all appeared on the Nintendo 64, but Mario Party 2 was the best, in my opinion at least. One of the things I liked most about this game was the introduction of the Koopa Bank in the item shop. These new features could quickly turn the tide of battle and made for more fun and intense gameplay. The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time, also known as The Legend of Zelda, the highest rated video game of all time. Nintendo 64 and gaming itself would not be the same without this game. We don't need to say much more on this game because you already know of its amazing legacy. The Legend of Zelda: Majora's Mask. Although not as highly rated as its predecessor, even though it's not far off, Majora's Mask brought a dark and somber tone to the Zelda franchise. One of the best things about this game was all of the side quests. If you were a kid like I was when the Nintendo 64 originally came out, you probably remember being frustrated with playing the Song of Time and losing items and whatnot. If you haven't played it since then, I'm sure it'll be easier to understand than when you were a kid. Obviously. And if you're a kid right now, I'm sure it won't be hard to pick up. Playing video games has probably been bred into your DNA by your parents. Our parents didn't normally like us playing video games when we were kids, but now I see kids playing video games with their parents all the time. Majora's Mask is probably one of my favorite Zelda games, and I would love to see it come to the Nintendo 64 Classic. Mario Kart 64. Now, I've played all 8 Mario Kart games, and this one is still one of my favorites. The battle mode in this game surpasses any other battle mode in the franchise. This was the game that made me enjoy racing games more than I used to. Also, don't forget about Rainbow Road. Every game has one, but for some reason, it seems like the longest laps of the whole series, which made getting first place feel really good. Do you think so too? Let us know down in the comments. Rayman 2: The Great Escape. Nintendo always seems to make sure they have Rayman titles on their consoles, and for a good reason. They're excellent games. Ubisoft seems to have always had a pretty good relationship with Nintendo, and the two companies seem to always support each other. And not to mention, this game has pretty impressive review scores. If you've never played this game, hopefully this will be your chance. Banjo-Kazooie. Now this is a quality platforming game that was really popular back in the day. So popular, many people still talk about trying to see a revival of the series. There's just something fun about being a bear with a sidekick / bird friend that lives in your backpack. Being able to play this game again would be awesome, and I'm sure many of you would agree with me. Banjo-Tooie. Not all sequels are good, but Banjo-Tooie is. It includes all the best elements of the original, plus some cool new features, including a ton of new moves and controlling Banjo and Kazooie independently. Bomberman 64. This was my favorite Bomberman ever. Having the three-dimensional world to explore was a smooth transition for the series, and not to mention, we still got all the classic multiplayer fun. Finding the costume pieces in the single player was fun as well. I like trying to find all the costume pieces so I can make my character look dope. Castlevania 64. With the new Castlevania series on Netflix, it would make sense to have a Castlevania game on the Nintendo 64 Classic. Even though the game got positive-ish reviews, it may strike an interest for those who never got to play it. Donkey Kong 64. Donkey Kong's first arrival into the 3D world proved to be a good one. The story mode was a fun playthrough, and the multiplayer keeps replay value high. Seeing Donkey Kong and his friends using projectile weapons and ammo was an unexpected feature, but it turned out to be pretty cool. And don't forget about that intro song, the DK Rap. Kirby 64, the Crystal Shards. Kirby games are pretty straightforward. Put the hurt on the bad guys and take their abilities. Combining abilities in this game made for some inventive strategies. It was also the only Kirby game to be released on the Nintendo 64, so it would be great to see it again. Now the rest of these games are games that I really want to see come to the Nintendo 64 Classic, but I'm sure they won't. Mortal Kombat 4. This game was so intense. Fighting this game was fun and introduced using weapons into the franchise, making for more brutal kills. Turn off the blood? I think not. GoldenEye. Now talk about an awesome first-person shooter. Weapons in this game vary from guns, explosive mines, rocket launchers, and watch lasers. Both the single-player and multiplayer modes will keep you coming back for more. Unlocking cheats in this game is also a blast too. Playing with all weapons or no radar multiplayer is a fun way to keep the game interesting. NFL Blitz 2000. I'm not a football fan, but this game was amazing. Mostly because you have the fun of playing football, but also the silly antics you could do, like keep tackling a player even after he's down, or poking out someone's eyes when you stiff arm them. You can also put in cheats to play as Raiden or Chinook for Mortal Kombat. It's not a key feature, but it's still funny to see them playing football. Spider-Man. This is a game I want to see because I love Spider-Man, and all the video games attached to it. I don't think we'll see it though, since the Marvel Cinematic Universe has a huge control over its heroes. Here's some wishful thinking though. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. This game's single player and multiplayer modes are both a lot of fun. These games weren't necessarily a system seller, so I wouldn't expect to see this game, but I would still love to see it make it to the Nintendo 64 Classic. Super Smash Bros. As much as I would like to duke it out in old school Smash Bros, I unfortunately don't think we'll see it on the Nintendo 64 Classic. To this day, there hasn't been a virtual console or a re-release of any Smash Bros games. With Nintendo Switch on the rise, however, I'm sure we'll have a brand new Smash game in the future. Hey, I just want to say thanks for watching our video. If you've gotten this far, I gotta say, you're pretty awesome. Liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing lets us know that you guys enjoy the content that we're making, and that you want more. We also want to know more about the content that you guys would like to see, and obviously just what you guys think of the content that we're already making. Let us know all of that down in the comments below. And once again, this is Eric from StatBoost. Until next time, my friends.